At Morixa Tales, we believe in the power of storytelling. Our scripts weave together deep emotions and dramatic turns to deliver justice where it is most needed. Experience captivating mysteries where the truth eventually shines through, leaving a lasting impact on your heart and mind.
My father told me my sister would be living in my house. It wasn't a discussion. It was an expectation framed as duty, as loyalty, as family. So I agreed. I told myself I could handle a few months, that keeping peace was worth the sacrifice. At first, nothing seemed wrong, until small inconsistencies began to surface. Questions that didn't have answers. Moments that didn't make sense. Then one night, I uncovered something I was never supposed to see. And that was when I realized the real danger in my life had been standing beside me all along. I'm so grateful you're here. Please comment where you're watching from, your city or country. I'd really like to connect with you. If this story resonates with you, hit the subscribe button and share it with someone who needs it. Note: this story contains fictional elements for dramatic effect. Any resemblance to real names or places is purely coincidental, but the message is deeply meaningful. March 2025 hit Austin with that strange in-between weather mornings, still cool enough for a jacket afternoons, warm enough to make you regret wearing one. I sat in my office at Blackwood Commercial Properties, nursing my second cup of coffee and staring at a spreadsheet that refused to make sense. Through the glass wall, I could see my father Warren Cross in the conference room, 61, silver-haired, sharp-suited, gesturing emphatically to a client. The founder and CEO of this mid-sized commercial real estate firm. The man who'd given me my first job at 22, right out of UT Austin. The man who'd never let me forget it. I'm Isabel Cross, 29 years old senior digital marketing strategist, a title that sounds impressive until you realize it means I handle the company's social media email campaigns and client presentations, while my father takes credit for the wins and blames me for the losses. I'd been here 7 years, long enough to know every corner of this building, long enough to feel trapped. But I had my escape, a 3-bedroom Victorian townhouse at 4105 Avenue G in Hyde Park, one of Austin's oldest and most charming neighborhoods. I'd bought it 4 years ago for $485,000 a stretch on my $118,000 salary, but I'd scrimped and saved and made it work. The mortgage was $312,000 now, $2,890 a month. But it was mine. Hardwood floors the color of honey, a kitchen with granite countertops I'd picked myself, a backyard rose garden I tended every Sunday, a place where I didn't have to answer to anyone. I lived alone. I liked it that way. My routine was predictable, almost boring. Up at 6 at the office, by 7, home by 6 in the evening. I'd cook something simple, pasta, roasted chicken, a salad from Whole Foods, then curl up with a book or watch Netflix until I fell asleep. No drama, no surprises, just me and my house and the quiet life I'd built. That afternoon at 3:07 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text from my father's assistant: Warren wants to see you. Now. My stomach tightened. Now was never good. I walked down the hall past the cubicles where my coworkers kept their heads down, past the break room that smelled like burnt coffee, and knocked on the door of my father's private office. He didn't look up from his desk. Close the door, sit. I sat. Waited. He finished typing something on his laptop. Making me wait was one of his favorite power moves, then finally met my eyes. Your sister's getting divorced. I blinked. Juliet, she and Jonathan. It's done, finalized last week. Jonathan Pierce kicked her out. She needs a place to stay. I felt the words forming in my mouth before I could stop them. Dad, you have 3 bedrooms. You live alone. Juliet will move into your house this weekend. It wasn't a question. It wasn't even a request. It was a command. I tried to keep my voice steady. I only have 3 bedrooms. One's mine, one's my home office. I work remote 2 days a week, and the third is storage. I don't have space. He leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. Isabel, Juliet is your sister. Family helps family. That's how we were raised. You're going to make this work. Dad, I barely talk to Juliet. She's going through a hard time. Her marriage just ended. She lost her condo. She needs support. You're going to give it to her. I felt my pulse quicken. For how long? Until she gets back on her feet, a few months, maybe less. A few months. My voice came out sharper than I intended. Dad, I can't. He cut me off with a look. The one that had silenced me since I was a kid. Isabel, let me be clear. This company is built on loyalty. Loyalty to clients, loyalty to each other, loyalty to family. If you can't show loyalty to your own sister, I'll have to question whether you're loyal to this company. The threat hung in the air, unspoken but crystal clear. Refuse and you're fired. I looked down at my hands. My throat felt tight. Okay. Good. I'll tell Juliet she can move in this Saturday. Make sure the room is ready. Yes, sir. I stood, walked out, and didn't breathe properly until I was back in my office with the door closed. Juliet, my older sister, 34, 5 years my senior, and the golden child of the Cross family. Growing up, she could do no wrong. When she broke Mom's favorite vase at 12 and blamed me, Dad believed her. When she wrecked Dad's car at 16 and said I'd left the garage door open so she didn't see the post, Dad grounded me for a month. When she dropped out of college after 2 years and asked Dad for $40,000 to start a consulting business that never materialized, he gave it to her without question. And I learned early Juliet took. I gave. That was how our family worked. 6 years ago, she'd called me at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. She was sobbing. She'd met this amazing guy who wanted to open a med spa in downtown Austin, and she wanted to invest. She just needed $8,000 to get started. She'd pay me back in 6 months, she promised. I was 23, barely making $60,000 a year, but I gave her the money. I never saw it again. The med spa never opened. The amazing guy turned out to be married, and when I asked about the loan a year later, Juliet said, "Oh, I thought that was a gift. Sisters help each other, right?" I stopped lending her money. I stopped answering her calls unless necessary. I built a wall between us, and now Dad was tearing it down. That night, I drove home in silence. No music, no podcasts, just the hum of the engine and the sick feeling in my stomach. I parked in the garage, walked through my kitchen, my beautiful, quiet kitchen, and stood in the doorway of my home office. My desk, my bookshelves, my vision board with magazine cutouts of Paris and Tokyo places I wanted to visit someday. My yoga mat in the corner. I'd have to pack it all up, move my desk into my bedroom somehow, turn this room into Juliet's temporary space. Temporary, I told myself. Just 2 or 3 months. She'll find a new place. She'll leave. I can handle 2 or 3 months. I pulled out a box from the garage and started packing. Books first, then the desk supplies, the framed photos, the potted succulent on the windowsill. By midnight, the room was bare except for the furniture. I dragged an old queen-sized air mattress from the storage closet and set it up, found spare sheets and a blanket, put a lamp on the nightstand. It looked sad, impersonal. Not like a home, more like a holding cell. I stood in the doorway staring at it and felt something cold settle in my chest. I didn't know then that 2 or 3 months would stretch into 8. I didn't know that Juliet would take more than just space in my house. I didn't know that the quiet life I'd built, my predictable, boring, safe little life, was about to shatter. I didn't know that this room, this decision, this moment was the beginning of the worst nightmare of my life. But I'd learn soon enough. The following Saturday morning, I sat on my front porch with coffee watching Hyde Park wake up. Joggers. A couple with a golden retriever. The scent of cut grass. At 10:03 a.m., a U-Haul rumbled down Avenue G and stopped at my curb. My stomach knotted. Juliet stepped out like she was arriving at a resort, not her little sister's spare room. Cream Chanel blazer, silk blouse, skinny jeans that cost more than my grocery budget, oversized sunglasses, dark hair in perfect waves. Behind her, the driver unloaded 6 Louis Vuitton suitcases and 4 cardboard boxes labeled "Fragile" in her looping handwriting. I forced a smile. "Hey, Juliet." She rushed over, hugged me tight. "Oh my God, thank you so much. You're a lifesaver." Her perfume, floral expensive, made my nose itch. "No problem. Let me show you the room." I led her inside down the hall to the small room I'd cleared. Air mattress, desk from Facebook Marketplace, lamp, compact wardrobe I'd assembled myself. She stepped in, looked around, her smile faltered. "This is it." Heat crept up my neck. "It's 12 by 10 feet. I know it's small, but your master bedroom is twice this size, right?" That's my space. I work early mornings and need privacy for calls. Right, of course. She turned back, lips pressed thin. It's fine. I'm only here a few weeks anyway, just until I find a condo downtown. Great, I said, though her tone made me uneasy. The first week was fine, mostly. Day 1. Juliet made breakfast, left dirty dishes on the table. I washed them. Day 3, I woke at 11:14 p.m. to the washing machine rattling. No apology. Day 5. I came home to 2 strangers in my living room, Juliet's co-workers' wine bottles on the coffee table, Adele blasting from a speaker. They stayed until 1 a.m. I didn't say anything. She was stressed. Going through a divorce. I could be patient. Then came day 8. Chase alert. Your supplementary credit card has reached $1,200 in charges over the past 48 hours. I stared at my phone. My supplementary card. I'd gotten it 3 years ago as a backup, one of those just-in-case things. Same account, same credit limit as my main card, but I almost never touched it. I kept it in the back of my bedroom nightstand drawer, tucked inside an envelope with my passport and social security card. My everyday wallet only held my main card, my driver's license, and a $20 bill for emergencies. I hadn't used the backup card in over a year, which meant someone else had. That evening, I found Juliet in the kitchen reheating leftovers. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Did you use my credit card? I got an alert, Neiman Marcus Sephora, $1,200. She glanced up, unbothered. Oh yeah, I found it in your nightstand when I was looking for a phone charger. Figured you wouldn't mind, it was just sitting there. Needed some stuff for work. Client meetings, you know. Gotta look professional. She smiled. Don't worry, I'll pay you back end of the month. My chest tightened. She'd gone into my nightstand, into my bedroom, while I was at work, rifled through the drawer where I kept my most private documents, and taken my card without asking. Juliet, that card was in my nightstand, in an envelope with my passport. You went through my things. Her smile didn't waver. I wasn't snooping, I just needed a charger and I saw the card. Thought you left it there for emergencies. This kind of was an emergency. I can't show up to client meetings looking like I just crawled out of a divorce, right? She shrugged. Besides, you make good money. It's not like $1,200 is a big deal for you. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that it was a big deal, not because of the money, but because she'd violated my space, my trust, my boundaries. But I heard Dad's voice in my head, don't make a scene, don't embarrass the family. Next time, I said quietly, ask first. Sure thing, she said breezily, turning back to the microwave. I walked upstairs, closed my bedroom door, and checked my nightstand drawer. The envelope was still there, but it had been moved. My passport was sticking out at an angle. My social security card was no longer tucked behind it. She'd gone through everything. By the end of the second week, I was exhausted. Not just from the noise and the mess, but from the constant feeling that my home was no longer mine. I needed to talk to someone. So Monday during lunch, I found Dad in the conference room. It's about Juliet. His jaw tightened. What about her? She took my credit card from my nightstand without asking. Spent $1,200. And she's been having friends over late doing laundry at 11 p.m. Isabel. His voice was sharp. Your sister just went through a divorce. Jonathan threw her out with nothing. And you're worried about a credit card charge. Dad, she went into my bedroom. You make $118,000 a year. You own a house. Juliet's rebuilding her life from scratch. Can't you be a little generous? Heat flooded my face. It's not about the money, it's about respect. No, it's about loyalty. Family loyalty. He picked up his pen, dismissing me. Focus on your work. Don't create problems where there aren't any. I walked out stunned. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Juliet's TV murmured downstairs. I felt trapped. If I told her to leave, Dad would fire me. If I set boundaries, he'd call me selfish. If I said nothing, she'd keep taking. Just a few more weeks, I told myself. 2 months tops. I can handle 2 months. I pulled the blanket over my head, but I was wrong. Juliet had no intention of leaving, and what I was about to discover in the weeks ahead would change everything. Late March arrived with warmer evenings and the scent of blooming jasmine drifting through Hyde Park. On a Wednesday night, I pulled into my driveway at 8:07 p.m., exhausted from a client meeting that had dragged on for 3 hours. The house was dark. Juliet had texted earlier dinner with friends from work wouldn't be home until 10. I was relieved. I needed the quiet. I kicked off my heels at the door, climbed the stairs, and went straight to my bedroom. I wanted to change into sweatpants, wash my face, and collapse. But first, I needed my silver bracelet, the simple one I wore every day, the one I'd left on my nightstand that morning in my rush to get to the office. I opened the top drawer of my jewelry box, and my heart stopped. The bracelet was there. But next to it, in the small velvet compartment where I always kept my most valuable pieces, there was an empty space. My Rolex was gone. I stared at the empty spot, my mind stuttering. It had been there 2 days ago. I was sure of it. I'd seen it Sunday morning when I'd put away my earrings after church. I pulled the drawer out further, rummaged through the other compartments, checked under the velvet liner. Nothing. My hands started to shake. I dropped to my knees and checked under the bed. Maybe it had fallen. Maybe I'd knocked it off the nightstand somehow. I pulled out storage bins, old shoe boxes, a yoga mat I hadn't used in months. Nothing. I went to the bathroom, checked the counter, the medicine cabinet, the little ceramic dish where I sometimes dropped rings. Nothing. I came back to the jewelry box and forced myself to slow down, to look, to inventory what was there and what wasn't. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual Vintage, a gift from my mentor at my first marketing internship, worth $4,800, was gone. My diamond earrings, the ones my grandmother had given me for my 21st birthday, worth $3,200, were gone. My 18-karat gold bracelet, the one I'd bought myself after my first big promotion, $2,400, was gone. I opened the drawer of my desk where I kept a small envelope of emergency cash. The envelope was still there, but when I opened it, it was empty. $1,000 gone. Total $11,500. I sat on the floor back against the bed, staring at the empty jewelry box. My first thought was absurd. Did someone break in? But the doors were locked. The windows were closed. No broken glass. No signs of forced entry. I'd checked everything obsessively ever since Juliet moved in. I was paranoid about leaving doors unlocked now, which left only one possibility. Someone inside the house had taken them. Juliet came home at 10:14 p.m. I heard the front door open, heard her heels clicking across the hardwood, heard her humming something under her breath. I went downstairs, found her in the kitchen pouring herself a glass of water. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice as calm as I could. "Can I ask you something?" She turned, smiling. "Sure, what's up? Did you go into my bedroom today?" Her smile faltered. "Your bedroom number? Why, I'm missing some things. Jewelry, money." She set the glass down. "What do you mean, missing?" "My Rolex, my diamond earrings, my gold bracelet, and $100 in cash from my desk drawer. They're all gone." Juliet's eyes widened. "And you think I took them?" "I didn't say that." "You're literally accusing me right now, Isabel." Her voice went sharp. "You think I went into your room and stole from you?" "I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just asking if you've seen them, or if you noticed anything unusual." "No, I haven't seen them, and I can't believe you'd even ask me that." She crossed her arms. "I work at the Four Seasons. I make $75,000 a year. I don't need your jewelry." "Juliet, I'm not trying to start a fight. What you think I'm a thief." Her voice cracked like she was the one being hurt. "I'm going through the worst time of my life, and my own sister accuses me of stealing." "I didn't accuse you. I asked." "You know what? Maybe you just misplaced them. You've been stressed lately, working late. Maybe you put them somewhere and forgot." "I didn't forget. They were in my jewelry box. I saw them 2 days ago." She shrugged. "Then I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you should check again." She picked up her glass and walked toward the stairs. Then she stopped, turned back. "You know, if you really think I stole from you, go ahead. Tell Dad, see who he believes." She left. I stood there, gripping the edge of the counter, my chest tight. I called Dad at 11:03 p.m. I knew it was late. I knew he hated being interrupted after 10, but I needed him to hear me. He picked up on the third ring. "Isabel, it's 11 o'clock. "I know, I'm sorry, but I need to talk to you about Juliet." A pause. "What now?" "I'm missing jewelry, a Rolex, diamond earrings, a gold bracelet, over $11,000 worth, and cash." Another pause, longer this time. And you think Juliet took them? I don't know who else would have. Isabel, do you have any proof? No, but then you don't know. You're guessing. His voice was cold. Your sister makes $75,000 a year. She doesn't need to steal $11,000 from you. Dad, she went into my nightstand last week and took my credit card without asking. She's been going through my things. She borrowed a credit card. That's not theft. That's family helping family. She didn't ask. Isabel, listen to me. You don't have proof. You're throwing around accusations that could destroy your relationship with your sister. Over what A watch you probably misplaced. I didn't misplace it. Enough. His voice sharpened. I don't want to hear this again unless you have actual evidence. Don't create problems where there aren't any. Understood? I closed my eyes. Yes, he hung up. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation with Juliet. The way she'd turned it around on me made me feel guilty for asking. And Dad's voice cold and dismissive. You don't have proof. He was right, I didn't. But I could get it. At 6:47 a.m., I opened my laptop and searched hidden camera for home. I ordered a smoke detector camera, $129 that mounted on the ceiling and recorded 1080p video with motion detection, and a USB charger camera, $98 that plugged into my nightstand outlet. Both had phone apps and next-day Prime delivery, total $287. Friday afternoon, while Juliet was at work, I installed them. The smoke detector went on the ceiling near my closet, capturing the entire room jewelry box desk door. The USB charger sat by my nightstand, both synced to my phone. That night, lying in bed, I thought, if she's innocent, the cameras will prove it. And if she's not, I'll finally know. I pulled the blanket up to my chin and closed my eyes. I didn't know then that those cameras wouldn't just catch a thief. They'd uncover something far more terrifying. The first Monday of April arrived with unseasonably warm weather, 78 degrees by mid-morning, the kind of day that made everyone in Austin forget it was technically still spring. I sat at my desk at Blackwood reviewing a marketing campaign deck for a $2.8 million client when my phone buzzed. Camera alert motion detected in master bedroom, 10:35 a.m. I stared at the screen. I was at the office. Juliet had texted me at 9 that morning, something about meetings at the Four Seasons all day. So who was in my room? I opened the app. The live feed loaded in 2 seconds. And there she was, Juliet, standing in front of my jewelry box. She was dressed for work, white blouse, black slacks, hair pulled into a neat bun. She looked professional, composed, like she belonged there, except she didn't. I watched heart pounding as she pulled a small pair of scissors from her pocket and wedged them into the combination lock I'd added to the jewelry box last week. It took her 15 seconds to pop it open, 15 seconds to break through the one barrier I'd thought would keep her out. She opened the top drawer, rummaged through the velvet compartments with the same casual efficiency someone might use to sort mail. She pulled out 3 gold rings gifts from my grandmother worth about $1,800 total, and a pearl necklace I'd bought myself after my first promotion, another $950. She dropped them into her Hermes bag, closed the jewelry box, adjusted her blouse, and walked out. I sat frozen at my desk, the phone trembling in my hand. So it was true. She'd stolen the Rolex. She'd stolen the earrings, the bracelet, the cash, and now she was doing it again. I forced myself to move, downloaded the video, backed it up 3 times, cloud phone, USB drive hidden in my purse. Then I sat back and stared at the ceiling. At 12:30 p.m., I told my coworkers I was taking lunch and went out to my car. I locked the doors, pulled out my phone, and opened the camera app's archive. 7 days of footage. 7 days since I'd installed the cameras. I started from the beginning. Tuesday, March 28th, 11:20 a.m. Juliet entered my room, went straight to the desk drawer, pulled out the envelope where I kept emergency cash, took the $100, put the empty envelope back. Thursday, March 30th, 2:15 p.m. Juliet opened my closet, pulled out my cashmere coat, the charcoal one I'd bought at Nordstrom for $680, and my leather boots, another $420. She held them up to the light, nodded to herself, and stuffed them into a shopping bag. Saturday, April 1st, 9 o'clock a.m. Juliet sat at my desk, pulled open the drawer where I kept important documents, took out my house deed, my mortgage statement, my passport, my bank statements, and she photographed them. Every single page. I zoomed in on the video. Her phone was angled perfectly to capture the deed, the address, the legal description, the fact that my name, Isabel Cross, was the sole owner. She photographed the mortgage statement too. The balance $312,000. The monthly payment $2,890. Then she put everything back, neat as could be, like she'd never been there. I sat in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing shallow. Why would she photograph my house papers? What is she planning? I spent the rest of the afternoon at my desk staring at spreadsheets without seeing them. My mind kept circling back to the same question. Should I call the police? I Googled it during a bathroom break. Can I report a family member for theft? The answers were depressing. If you live together, police often treat it as a civil dispute, not a criminal matter. You may need to evict the person first, then file a civil suit. Police won't arrest someone for taking items from a shared household. You'll need to prove intent to permanently deprive, which is hard to do with family. I put my phone down and closed my eyes. So even if I called the police, they probably wouldn't do anything. They'd say it was a family matter. They'd tell me to kick her out or take her to small claims court. And if I did call them, Juliet would know about the cameras. She'd find them, destroy them, and I'd lose the only leverage I had. Worse, if I involved the police, Dad would find out. He'd call his lawyer, he'd pressure me to drop it, he'd threaten my job, maybe even fire me. And I still didn't know what Juliet was planning with those house documents. If she's building a case for something bigger, I thought I need more evidence. I need to know what she's really doing before I make a move. So I made a decision. I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. I'd keep the cameras running. I'd keep backing up the footage, and I'd wait. I got home at 6:32 p.m. Juliet was on the couch watching Real Housewives, a glass of white wine in her hand. "Hey," she said, glancing up. "How was work?" "Fine," I said, forcing a smile. Exhausting. Back-to-back meetings all day." She took a sip of wine. "I'm thinking Thai for dinner. You in?" "Sure, I'll order." I went upstairs, checked the jewelry box. The rings and necklace were gone just like in the video. I stood there for a moment staring at the empty compartments. Then I went back downstairs, ordered pad thai and spring rolls from our usual place, and sat on the couch next to Juliet. We ate dinner together, talked about nothing. She complained about a Bridezilla client at the Four Seasons. I nodded along, made sympathetic noises. The whole time, I felt like I was watching myself from outside my body. I'm sitting here eating dinner with the person who's been stealing from me for weeks. I'm pretending everything is fine. I'm acting like I don't know. It felt surreal, sickening. But I kept my face neutral, kept my voice light. Because if she knew, I knew everything would fall apart. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me. My sister wasn't just stealing jewelry, she was stealing cash, clothes. And she was photographing my house documents, my deed, my mortgage statement, my passport. Why? What was she planning to do with that information? I thought about the way she'd looked at my bedroom that first day she moved in. "Your master bedroom is twice this size, right?" I thought about the way she'd told Dad so casually that she'd find a condo downtown in a few weeks. She'd been here almost a month now. She hadn't looked at a single listing. She never planned to leave. But it was more than that. This wasn't just about mooching off me. This was something bigger, something that made my stomach twist with a fear I didn't fully understand yet. I pulled the blanket up to my chin and closed my eyes. I would find out soon enough. And when I did, the answer would be more terrifying than I could have imagined. The email notification lit up my phone at 9:47 Monday morning, right in the middle of a campaign meeting at Blackwood. Chase alert. Your credit card is now at 95% of your credit limit. I excused myself, locked the bathroom stall, and opened the app with trembling hands. The supplementary card, the one Juliet had taken from my nightstand 3 weeks ago, showed $7,800 out of an $8,000 limit in 10 days. I scrolled through the transactions: Neiman Marcus, $1,850 for a Tory Burch handbag, and Valentino Heels Sephora, $680 for makeup and perfume. The Darling Oyster Bar, $420 for dinner with wine. Nordstrom, $1,320 for dresses. Whole Foods, $890 for organic groceries, and Pinot Grigio Tesla Service Center. $2,400 for her Model 3 repair, and Zara Lululemon Anthropologie $1. $240 for clothes and decor. I sat on the toilet lid, vision blurring. 10 days. Nearly $8,000. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't confront her yet. The cameras were still recording. If she knew I was watching, she'd stop and I wouldn't learn what she was planning with those photos of my house deed and mortgage papers. So I swallowed the rage, splashed water on my face, and went back to the meeting. I smiled, nodded, approved the $2.8 million campaign deck. All the while, $7,800 burned in my mind. By the time I got home, Juliet was in the kitchen pouring Sauvignon Blanc. Her hair was freshly blown out, nails manicured ballet pink. She wore a new cream silk Nordstrom blouse, probably $200. "Hey, want some wine? I picked up a bottle from Whole Foods. It's organic." I set my bag down. My hands shook. "Juliet, we need to talk." Her smile faltered. "About what?" I showed her my phone. "About this, $7,800 in 10 days. She glanced at the screen, looked away. "Oh, that." "Yes, that." She set down her glass and crossed her arms. "I needed those things. I'm a senior event coordinator at the Four Seasons. I can't show up to galas in 3-year-old clothes. Then use your own money." Her eyes flashed. "I don't have money, Isabel. Jonathan left me with nothing. The divorce settlement was $85,000, and I used $40,000 to pay off credit card debt. I have rent to save for a car to maintain. You spent $2,400 fixing your Tesla," I said, voice rising. "You had dinner for $420. You bought a Tory Burch bag for $1850. She lifted her chin. "I deserve nice things, too. With my money, I'll pay you back by the end of the year, I promise." "That's what you said about the $8,000 you borrowed 2 years ago. I never saw a cent." Her face flushed. "That was different. You're still spending money you don't have." She grabbed her wine and took a long sip. When she looked at me again, her expression had hardened. "You know what, you've always been like this. So tight with money. You make $118,000 a year. The minimum payment is what, $300? You can afford it." The words hit like a slap. "That's not the point." "Then what is the point?" "The point is, you stole from me again." She slammed the glass down. "I didn't steal. I borrowed. There's a difference." "Not when you take it without asking." She laughed bitterly. "You want me to ask? Fine. Isabel, can I borrow your credit card so I don't lose my job?" "Oh, wait, you'd say no. You always say no." "Because you never pay me back." We glared at each other across the island. My heart pounded. I wanted to tell her to leave, to call the police, to freeze the card and lock my bedroom forever. But I couldn't. Because the cameras were still recording. Because I needed to know what she was planning with those photos of my house deed. Because if I pushed too hard, she'd run to Dad and he'd threaten my job. So I took a breath. "Fine. You'll pay me back by December, but I'm putting a $500 monthly limit on the card." She rolled her eyes. "Whatever." She grabbed the wine bottle and walked out, leaving me alone. That night, at 10:03, I called my father. He picked up on the second ring. "Isabel, what is it?" "It's Juliet. She's spent $7,800 on my credit card in 10 days. Pause. And I want her to stop. I want her to move out." He sighed. "Isabel, you make $118,000 a year. The minimum payment on $8,000 at 22% APR is about $320 a month. And you can handle that. She's your sister. She's rebuilding her life after a difficult divorce. She needs support. She needs to stop stealing." "Don't be dramatic. She's borrowing. And if you make this public, if you involve police or kick her out, it will reflect poorly on this family and on you." There it was. The threat. So I just let her do whatever she wants. "I'm saying be patient. She'll pay you back. That's what family does." He hung up. I stayed up late Googling how to evict a family member in Texas. Whoa, the answer was brutal. After 30 days, Juliet was a legal tenant. Even if I served notice tomorrow, eviction would take 60 to 90 days. She could stay through summer. I closed the laptop and lay back staring at the smoke detector camera. The little red light blinked in the dark. Juliet wasn't going to leave, not willingly. Forcing her meant months of legal battles and my father's wrath. I was trapped. And the worst part, the $7,800 wasn't even the real problem. The real problem was those photos, my house deed, my mortgage balance of $312,000, my passport, my bank statements. Why did she need those lying there, listening to her footsteps in the hallway? I felt cold certainty settle over me. The money was just the beginning. Whatever Juliet was planning, it was bigger than theft, and I was running out of time to stop it. The call came at 7:05 Thursday morning while I was standing in my closet deciding between the navy blazer and the gray one. I glanced at my phone. Dad, mobile. He never called this early unless something was wrong. Dad. Isabel, you need to get to the office, now. His voice was clipped urgent. I could hear papers rustling in the background. What I'm not scheduled until 9. Raymond Fisher is coming in at 7:45. He wants to finalize the Q2 campaign before he flies to Dallas. You have 30 minutes. My heart lurched. Raymond Fisher. The $2.8 million contract. The client I'd been working on for 3 months. If we lost this deal, my father would never let me forget it. 30 minutes. My voice rose. Dad, I just woke up. Then stop talking and get in your car. He hung up. I stood frozen for 3 seconds, panic flooding my chest. Then I moved. No coffee, no makeup, no breakfast. I grabbed the gray blazer, yanked it on over my wrinkled blouse, shoved my phone and wallet into my purse and ran. The staircase in my house is steep, 13 steps from the second floor down to the entryway, old hardwood with dark walnut finish. Victorian charm, the realtor had said. Original 1910 construction. That morning I didn't think about charm. I thought about Fisher, the clock, my father's voice saying 30 minutes. I flew down the stairs, my phone buzzing in my hand. Another call. I swiped to answer. Dad, I'm coming. Where are you? I'm leaving right now. I'll be there in 20 minutes. You need to be there in 15. Fisher hates waiting. An email notification popped up. I tilted the phone down to read it while I ran. Subject: Fisher meeting urgent. Bring Q2 deck media budget breakdown ROI projections. I was reading the email, eyes fixed on the screen when I hit the staircase. Step 1, step 2. And then without thinking, without looking, I skipped the third step entirely. My foot landed on the fourth step. I kept going, barely registering the gap, too focused on the email, on my father's voice, on the ticking clock. Step 5, step 6. Down the rest of the stairs, across the entryway, out the front door. I didn't look back. I threw my purse into my Honda Accord, started the engine, and peeled out at 7:11 a.m. I made it to Blackwood at 7:42. Raymond Fisher walked in at 7:46 wearing a charcoal Tom Ford suit and carrying a leather portfolio. He was 63, silver-haired, with the kind of calm gaze that made you feel like he was calculating your net worth while shaking your hand. Ms. Cross, I appreciate you making time on short notice. I smiled, trying not to look like I'd just sprinted across Austin with no coffee. Of course, Mr. Fisher, I have everything ready. We sat in the conference room, me, Fisher, my father, 2 of Fisher's associates. I walked them through the Q2 campaign 15-city digital blitz, targeting high-net-worth investors, programmatic ads on LinkedIn, and Google influencer partnerships, SEO strategy. Budget $480,000. Projected ROI 340%. Fisher asked questions. I answered. My father sat at the head of the table, arms crossed, watching. By 10:30, Fisher closed his portfolio. I'm satisfied. Let's move forward. He signed. $2.8 million, 12 months. The biggest deal Blackwood had closed all year. My father shook his hand, then glanced at me. For a split second, I saw something like approval. Good work, Isabel. I nodded, too exhausted to feel relief. I got home at 6:30 that evening. The adrenaline had worn off, replaced by bone-deep fatigue. I kicked off my heels, dropped my purse on the console, and started up the staircase. Slowly this time, one hand on the railing. Step 1, step 2, step 3. The moment my weight came down, I felt it shift. The wood lurched beneath my foot, tilting sharply to the right, maybe 15 degrees. I gasped and grabbed the railing with both hands. The step didn't collapse, but it moved. A sickening, unstable movement like the board had come loose. I stood frozen, heart-hammering, both hands locked on the railing. Slowly, I lifted my foot. Then I crouched and examined the step. The wood was old walnut original to the house. But up close, I saw a thin gap, maybe 2 millimeters between the step and the support beam. I pressed my hand against the board. It rocked under the pressure. I ran my fingers along the edge. The wood wasn't splintered or cracked, just loose, like the screws had come undone. I sat back frowning. The house was 15 years old. I'd bought it in 2021, and the inspection report had noted minor wear but nothing structural. I'd walked these stairs every day for 4 years. The third step had never been loose before. Maybe it finally gave out, I thought. Old wood, old nails, 15 years of wear. It made sense. I was too tired to think deeply. The only thing on my mind was that I'd gotten lucky this morning. If I'd stepped on this board while running, I would have fallen. Hard. 13 steps steep, angle, hardwood floor at the bottom. Broken wrist, ankle, cracked skull. But I hadn't. I'd skipped the step, entirely too distracted to notice. Lucky, I thought, just lucky. Friday morning, I Googled stair repair Austin, Texas, and called Austin Home Repair. Hi, I have a loose step on my staircase. It's rocking pretty badly. Can someone come look? We can fit you in Monday afternoon, 2 o'clock. Perfect, thank you. I hung up and made a note. Avoid step 3. Walk on the edge near the railing. For the rest of the weekend, I did exactly that. Every time I went up or down, I hugged the right side, keeping my weight off the center of the third step. Juliet noticed Saturday. Why are you walking like that? She asked, watching me edge down with my shoulder against the wall. One of the steps is loose. I'm getting it fixed Monday. She shrugged and went back to her phone. That night, lying in bed, I replayed the morning. The phone call, the email. The frantic sprint down the staircase, eyes glued to the screen. The way I'd skipped the third step without thinking. If my father hadn't called, if Fisher hadn't demanded that early meeting, I would have walked down those stairs slowly, carefully. I would have stepped directly on the third step, and I would have fallen. I shivered, pulling the blanket tighter. Close call, I thought. But just a close call? I didn't suspect sabotage. How could I didn't know someone had been inside my house. I didn't know the screws had been deliberately loosened. I didn't know the step had been designed to collapse under my weight. All I knew was that my staircase was old, the wood was worn, and I'd gotten lucky. I turned off the light and closed my eyes. I didn't know the step hadn't broken on its own. And I didn't know that someone was watching me, furious that I was still alive. Saturday morning, 8:15 a.m. I was sitting at my kitchen table with a mug of black coffee, scrolling through my phone and making a mental to-do list call the stair repair guy again. Confirm Monday's appointment. Maybe run to Whole Foods when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I set down my mug and walked to the front door. Through the peephole, I saw Mrs. Dorothy Jensen, my neighbor from 2 houses down, standing on my porch. She was 68, a retired elementary school teacher with silver hair pulled into a neat bun. She lived alone at 4107 Avenue G, kept a beautiful garden, and always waved when I drove by. But this morning her face looked tight with worry. I opened the door. Mrs. Jensen, is everything okay? She glanced over her shoulder, then back at me. Isabel, I need to tell you something. Can I come in? Of course. I stepped aside and led her into the living room. She sat on the edge of my couch, hands folded in her lap. What's wrong? I asked, sitting across from her. She took a breath. Thursday night, well, technically very early Friday morning, I saw a man go into your house. My stomach dropped. A man? What do you mean? I have trouble sleeping sometimes, she said quietly. I was up around 2:45, sitting in my front room with the curtains open, just looking out at the street. And I saw a man walk up your driveway and go around to the back of your house. I stared at her. The back. You're sure? She nodded. I'm sure. He was tall, maybe 6 feet, wearing a black hoodie with the hood up. He was carrying a small bag like a toolbox or a duffel. At first, I thought maybe it was a contractor you'd hired, but then I realized it was almost 3 in the morning. No contractor works at 3 a.m. My mouth went dry. What did he do? He went to your back door. I couldn't see clearly from my angle, but it looked like he unlocked it. He didn't break in, he just opened it. Like he had a key. He went inside. Inside, my voice came out higher than I intended. Yes, he was in there for about 25 minutes. Then he came back out, walked down your driveway, and got into a car parked on the street. A silver Honda Accord. I wrote down the license plate. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her cardigan pocket and handed it to me. I unfolded it. In her neat cursive, she'd written GTX 4729. I stared at the plate number, my heart pounding. Mrs. Jensen, I said slowly, why didn't you call the police? She looked embarrassed. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe it was a friend of yours or a repairman or, I don't know. I didn't want to cause trouble if it was nothing. But the more I thought about it, the more it bothered me. So I decided to come tell you. I swallowed hard. Thank you. I thank you. She stood. I'm sorry, Isabel. I hope it's nothing. But if you need anything, I'm right down the street. I appreciate it, really. I walked her to the door, thanked her again, and watched her walk back toward her house. Then I closed the door, locked it, and leaned against it. A man in my house at 2:45 a.m. Thursday night, carrying a toolbox. I went back to the kitchen and sat down, my coffee forgotten. Thursday night. That was the night before I discovered the loose stair. The night before, I almost fell. My first thought was burglar. But then I replayed what Dorothy had said. He was inside for 25 minutes. He didn't take my TV. He didn't take my laptop. He didn't ransack my bedroom or steal jewelry. He came in, stayed 25 minutes, and left. What kind of burglar does that? And why did he have a toolbox? I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Stop, I told myself. You're being paranoid. Maybe it was a contractor Juliet had hired without telling me. Maybe it was a friend of hers. Maybe Dorothy had the wrong house. But the license plate GTX 4729 sat on the table in front of me, written in careful cursive. I picked up my phone and Googled how to look up license plate Texas. The results were a mix of paid services and forums saying you needed law enforcement access. I clicked on one site, Texas Plate Lookup, and entered the number, but it wanted $40 for a full report. I closed the browser. Okay, I thought. If he comes back, I'll be ready. I spent the next hour on Amazon searching for security cameras. If the man came back, I needed footage. I found 3 devices, a wall clock hidden camera, $129, with 1080p motion detection. And cloud storage, I'd mount it in the first floor hallway, facing the staircase and the hallway to the basement utility room where the gas lines were. A Bluetooth radio camera, $98, that looked like a normal speaker but had a hidden lens. I'd place it on the kitchen counter aimed at the back door. And a video doorbell, $115 for the back entrance with HD video, 2-way audio, and instant alerts. Total $342. I selected 1 day shipping. They'd arrive Sunday morning. Sunday at 10 a.m., the package arrived. Juliet had left for brunch at 9:30, so I had the house to myself. I hung the clock in the hallway, placed the radio on the kitchen counter, and installed the doorbell. By 1:45 p.m., all 3 were live and synced to my phone. Sunday, 10 o'clock a.m. The package arrived right on schedule. Juliet had left at 9:30 for brunch with friends. She said she'd be gone until at least 2, so I had the house to myself. I unpacked the cameras, read the instructions, and got to work. I hung the wall clock camera in the first floor hallway about 7 feet up, angled, so it captured the staircase, the hallway leading to the kitchen, and the door to the basement utility room where the water heater and gas lines were housed. I placed the radio camera on the kitchen counter near the sink, aimed directly at the back door. Then I unscrewed the old doorbell by the back entrance and installed the video doorbell, syncing it to my phone via the app. By 1:45 p.m., all 3 cameras were live. I opened the app on my phone and toggled through the feeds. Crystal clear, motion detection active, cloud recording enabled. I felt a small surge of relief. If the man came back, I'd see him. I'd have proof. I'd call the police. That evening, around 7:30, Juliet came home. She dropped her purse on the kitchen counter right next to the radio camera, though she didn't give it a second glance, and poured herself a glass of Chardonnay. I was sitting at the table pretending to read emails on my laptop. "Hey," I said casually, "can I ask you something?" She looked over. "Sure." Thursday night, well, Friday morning. Technically, did you hear anything weird? Like someone at the back door or footsteps or anything? Her brow furrowed. No, why? Mrs. Jensen said she saw a man go into our house around 3 a.m. Tall guy, black hoodie, carrying a bag. Juliet's expression didn't change. Seriously? Yeah, she wrote down his license plate. Juliet shrugged and took a sip of wine. I didn't hear anything. I was asleep. She probably got the house mixed up. You know how old people are, they see shadows and think it's a burglar. Maybe I said. But I didn't believe her. I watched her walk out of the kitchen, wine glass in hand, and disappear into the living room. I glanced at my phone. The camera app was open. The radio on the counter was recording. That night, lying in bed, I replayed everything in my mind. A man, Thursday night, 25 minutes, toolbox, the loose stare. I still didn't connect the two. How could I thought the stare had broken naturally. I thought the man was a burglar or maybe a contractor Juliet had hired without telling me. But something felt wrong. And now I had cameras. 3 more cameras watching the hallways, the kitchen, the back door. If he came back, I'd know. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep. I didn't know yet that he would come back. And I didn't know that the cameras were about to show me something far worse than theft. I installed the cameras hoping to catch a burglar, but what I was about to discover was far more terrifying. Hold on before I show you what the hidden camera captured that night. Drop a quick comment with the number 8 if you're still watching. I need to know you're ready for this twist. Because what I'm about to reveal isn't just theft anymore. It's something far darker, something that made my blood run cold. Quick reminder, what follows includes dramatized details for storytelling. If you'd rather not continue, you can stop here. But trust me, you'll want to hear this. Early May Tuesday night. I went to bed at 10:30, exhausted from a long day at work. The house was quiet. Juliet had gone out earlier. She said she was meeting a friend for drinks, and I assumed she'd come home late as usual. I locked my bedroom door, changed into my pajamas, and climbed into bed. Within minutes, I was asleep. At 11:45 p.m., I woke up. My throat was dry. I needed water. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and reached for my phone on the nightstand. Out of habit, because I'd been checking the cameras every night since I installed them, I opened the app. The bedroom feeds were dark. The hallway feed showed nothing. But the kitchen feed, a red notification flashed across the screen, motion detected, kitchen camera, 11:48 p.m. My heart skipped. I tapped the notification. The live feed opened. And there, sitting at my kitchen table under the warm glow of the pendant light, were 2 people, Juliet and a man. I froze, phone in hand, staring at the screen. The man was wearing a black hoodie and dark jeans. His hood was down. For the first time, I could see his face clearly. He looked about 32. Short beard, dark brown eyes, sharp, angular features. The kind of face that might have been handsome if it wasn't so cold. He was sitting across from Juliet, a glass of red wine in his hand. Juliet had a glass too. They were talking. I grabbed my earbuds from the nightstand, plugged them in, and turned up the volume. The audio was crystal clear. Cameron, his voice tight, frustrated. How the hell did she avoid step 3? I loosened 6 screws. If she'd stepped in the center of that board, it would have collapsed. My breath caught. Juliet, her voice quieter, worried. I don't know. Maybe she was in a hurry and skipped over it, or maybe she walked on the edge near the railing. Cameron, are you sure she didn't suspect anything? Did she check the staircase? Juliet, yes. That evening she noticed step 3 was loose, but she thought it was just the house old wood natural wear. She called a repair guy. She has an appointment next Monday. Cameron, exhaling, relieved. Okay, so she still doesn't know, but the stair plan failed. Do you have a plan B? Juliet was silent for a few seconds. Then she said quietly, gas leak. My stomach turned to ice. Juliet, if the furnace leaks gas, she'll die in her sleep. It'll look like an accident. Cameron, nodding slowly. Carbon monoxide. I know how to do it. Turn off the detector. Loosen the gas line. She'll go to sleep and never wake up. Juliet, when? Cameron, I need to prep. I have to figure out exactly how many turns on the valve to make it leak slow so it doesn't explode, just fills the room. Probably Thursday next week. You'll create an alibi, go stay at a hotel with a friend. I'll come in at 3 a.m., 20 minutes tops. Juliet, If she dies, who gets the house? Cameron. She doesn't have a will right under Texas law. The estate goes to the father, Warren. Your dad's old. You convince him to sign over 100% inheritance to you. The house is worth $625,000 minus the $312 mortgage. That's $313,000 net. You sell it, split it with me 50-50, $156,500 each. Juliet, a soft laugh. Deal. But after this is done, we don't see each other for a few months. The cops will investigate. Cameron smirking. Of course. I'll go back to San Antonio to visit my wife. He said wife with a mocking edge. You stay in Austin and play the grieving sister. Juliet clinked her glass against his. I couldn't breathe. I lay in my bed, earbuds in, staring at the screen, my hands shaking so hard the phone nearly slipped from my grip. The staircase. It hadn't broken naturally. He had done it. That man Cameron had come into my house in the middle of the night and loosened the screws on the third step. He'd tried to kill me, and now they were planning to do it again. Gas leak, carbon monoxide, Thursday next week, 3 a.m. They were going to kill me in my sleep and make it look like an accident so they could take my house. My chest tightened, my vision blurred. I felt tears spill down my cheeks hot and fast. My sister wanted me dead. I don't know how long I lay there frozen, staring at the screen. The video kept playing. Juliet and Cameron finished their wine, stood up, walked out of frame. The kitchen went dark. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Juliet's bedroom door closed. Silence. I lay perfectly still, barely breathing. My door was locked. She couldn't get in, but I was terrified she'd knock, ask if I was awake, somehow know I'd been watching. She didn't. After 10 minutes, I moved. 11:55 p.m. I pulled the blanket over my head, creating a dark cocoon, and tapped the screen. I downloaded the video. I saved it 3 times, once to the cloud, once to my phone's local storage, once to a USB drive in my nightstand drawer. 12:05 a.m. I opened my email and sent the video file to myself. Backup number 4. 12:10 a.m. I Googled emergency lawyer, Austin, Texas. The first result was Samuel Peterson, attorney at law, 24/7 hotline for urgent legal matters. I clicked the number. It rang twice. Then a recorded message, you've reached the emergency hotline for Samuel Peterson. If this is a life-threatening legal matter, please leave a detailed message with your name and contact information. I will return your call within 2 hours. Beep, I whispered into the phone, my voice shaking. Mr. Peterson, my name is Isabel Cross. I need to meet with you as soon as possible. My sister is plotting to kill me. I have video evidence. Please call me back. This is urgent. I left my number and hung up. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, door-locked, earbuds still in, watching the camera feeds. Every creak, every shadow made my heart race. I kept replaying the video in my mind. Juliet's voice, Cameron's voice, gas leak, carbon monoxide, Thursday next week, 3 a.m. I thought about walking out of my room right now, confronting Juliet, screaming at her. But if I did, she'd know I knew. And if she knew I knew, she'd warn Cameron. They'd change the plan or disappear. I thought about calling the police, but what would I say? My sister and her boyfriend are planning to kill me. They'd ask for proof. I had proof, but it was a video of them talking. They hadn't actually done anything yet. No crime had been committed. Would the police even take me seriously? I didn't know. What I did know was that I had 1 week. 1 week before Thursday. 1 week to figure out how to stop them. And I needed help. At 6:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered immediately, my voice hoarse from crying. Ms. Cross. A man's voice, calm and measured. This is Samuel Peterson. I got your message. I'm very sorry for what you're going through. Can you meet me at my office this morning, 8:30? I sat up in bed, my heart pounding. Yes, I'll be there. Good, bring the video. Bring any other evidence you have. We'll figure out a plan. Thank you, I whispered. He hung up. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in my hand, staring at the gray morning light creeping through my window. In 3 hours, I would meet the lawyer. And I would figure out how to stop them before Thursday next week, when they planned to kill me. Wednesday morning, 8:30 a.m. I stood in front of a glass tower in downtown Austin, staring up at the silver letters above the revolving door. Peterson and Gray LLP, attorneys at law. My hands were shaking. I hadn't slept. My eyes were red and swollen from crying. I'd left the house at 7:30 telling Juliet I had an early client meeting. She didn't ask questions. I stepped into the elevator and pressed 12. Samuel Peterson's office was on the corner of the 12th floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Austin skyline. His assistant greeted me at the front desk and led me down a quiet hallway into a private conference room. Samuel was already inside, 54, silver-haired, wearing a charcoal suit and blue tie. When he saw me, his expression softened. "Ms. Cross, please sit." I sat. He closed the door and took the seat across from me. "Thank you for seeing me so quickly." I said, my voice hoarse. "Of course. You said this was urgent. Why don't you start from the beginning?" I took a breath and told him everything. I started with March Juliet moving in the broken boundaries, the missing jewelry worth $11,500, the supplementary credit card she'd taken from my nightstand, and the $7,800 she'd spent in 10 days. I told him about the staircase, the loose step my neighbor misses, Jensen seeing a man go into my house at 3 a.m. with a toolbox, the cameras I'd installed, the license plate, GTX-4729. And then last night, the video. I pulled my iPad from my bag, opened the camera app, and slid it across the table. "This is 17 minutes long," I said quietly, "but you need to see all of it." Samuel put on his reading glasses and pressed play. I watched his face as he watched the screen. At first his expression was neutral, then his jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed. By the time the video ended, Juliet and Cameron clinking their wine glasses, laughing about splitting $156,000, his face was stone. He took off his glasses and set them on the table. "Ms. Cross," he said slowly, "this is conspiracy to commit murder, but this video alone isn't enough to arrest them." My stomach dropped. "What?" "They're talking about killing you, but they haven't acted yet. Under Texas law, conspiracy requires an overt act in furtherance of the crime. Right now, all you have is a conversation. The police need evidence of an attempt, meaning they have to try to kill you and fail, or you need proof of actual sabotage." "But the staircase," he loosened the screws. "Did you have the step inspected by a professional? Do you have a report stating the screws were deliberately removed?" I shook my head. "No, I just thought it was old wood. I called a repair guy but canceled after I saw this video." "I understand. I'm not saying we do nothing. I'm saying we need to be strategic. If you go to the police right now with this video, they'll open a file. They'll interview your sister. She'll deny everything. She'll say it was a joke or a hypothetical conversation or that you edited the footage, and then she and Cameron will disappear. You'll never catch them. So what do I do?" My voice broke. "Wait for them to try to kill me? No, we prepare. And when they execute the gas leak, we catch them in the act." He pulled a yellow legal pad from the drawer and uncapped a pen. "Here's what we're going to do. Step 1, I'm going to hire a private investigator, James Novak Lone Star Investigations. He's the best in Austin. He'll dig into Cameron West. Does he have a criminal record? What's his relationship to Juliet? Where does he live? The license plate your neighbor gave you, GTX-4729, will be a starting point. Step 2, I'm going to contact Detective Emily Garrett with the Austin Police Department Violent Crimes Unit. I know her personally. I'll send her this video in advance so she can start building a file. She'll be ready to move when the time comes. Step 3, you do not go back to that house. Not until this is over. You stay in a hotel or with a friend somewhere Juliet doesn't know about. You keep going to work, act normal, but you don't sleep there. Step 4, on Thursday night next week, you'll pretend to be home. You'll leave lights on your car in the driveway, but you won't actually be inside. Detective Garrett and her team will be positioned nearby in unmarked cars, plain clothes. They'll have a warrant ready. The moment Cameron enters your house and touches that gas line, they'll move in and arrest him. Step 5. Once Cameron is in custody, they'll arrest Juliet for conspiracy. The video is enough for that, especially once we have Cameron's testimony and the physical evidence from the gas line. Step 6. Then you sell the house and get out of Austin. I stared at him. Sell the house. He nodded. You own it outright, correct? I have a mortgage, $312,000 left. The house is worth about $625. And Juliet's name isn't on the deed? No, she's just staying there. She's not on the mortgage, not on the title, nothing. Good. That means she has no legal claim to the property. You can sell it whenever you want. The problem is eviction. If you try to kick her out right now, it'll take 60 to 90 days in Texas. But if you sell to a cash investor, someone who buys properties as is, with no inspection and a fast close, you can be out in 2 to 3 weeks. I know a realtor, Stephanie Lawson at Keller Williams. She specializes in quick sales. I'll introduce you. Once Juliet and Cameron are arrested, you list the house, accept a cash offer, close, and leave. Where would I go? Wherever you want. Out of state, if possible. Somewhere your father and sister can't reach you. I thought of my father, Warren, the man who'd forced me to let Juliet move in, who'd told me to stop being dramatic when she stole from me. What if my father tries to stop me? He can't. You're an adult. You own the property. If he harasses you, I'll send him a cease and desist letter. If he threatens you, we file for a restraining order. One more thing, Samuel said. My retainer is $5,000. That covers everything we've discussed, coordinating with the police, preparing the sale documents, legal advice through the arrest and aftermath. I'll need that up front. I opened my phone and pulled up my bank app. I can transfer it now. Zelle. That works. I sent the payment, $5,000. It was a lot of money, but it was worth it. Samuel's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and nodded. Got it, thank you. He stood and extended his hand. Ms. Cross, I know this is terrifying, but you're doing the right thing. We're going to stop them. I shook his hand, my throat tight. Thank you. I left his office at 10:47 a.m., stepping back into the bright Texas sunlight. My phone buzzed. A text from Juliet. Hey, when are you coming home? I'm making lunch. I stared at the message. Lunch. Like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't spent last night planning my murder. I typed back, got stuck in meetings, might be late, don't wait for me. I hit send and put my phone in my pocket. I had a to-do list now, a plan, a lawyer, a private investigator, a detective. But I still had to survive the next 9 days. 9 days until they tried to kill me for the second time. Wednesday afternoon, 2:15 p.m. I stood in front of a 3-story red brick building in East Austin, checking the address Samuel had texted me. Lone Star Investigations, Suite 3B. I climbed the narrow staircase to the 3rd floor and found a frosted glass door with black lettering, James Novak, Private Investigator. I knocked. A deep voice called out, "Come in." The office was small, a wooden desk cluttered with files, a metal filing cabinet, framed certificates on the wall. Behind the desk sat a man in his late 40s with salt and pepper hair, a short beard, and sharp brown eyes. He wore a navy blue button-down with rolled sleeves. He stood and extended his hand. Ms. Cross. Yes, his grip was firm. James Novak, Samuel Peterson called me this morning. Please sit. I sat across from him. He pulled a legal pad from a drawer and uncapped a pen. Samuel gave me the basics, but I'd like to hear it from you. I took a breath and told him the story, shorter this time, but detailed. Juliet moving in back in March, the stolen jewelry worth $11,500, the credit card she'd taken, and the $7,800 she'd spent the loose staircase step. My neighbor, Mrs. Jensen, seeing a man go into my house at 3 a.m. Thursday night with a toolbox and a silver Honda Accord license plate, GTX4729, the cameras I'd installed, and last night, the video. I pulled my iPad from my bag and slid it across the desk. This is 17 minutes, but you need to see it. James put on reading glasses and pressed play. I watched his face as he watched the screen. His expression stayed neutral, but his jaw tightened when Cameron talked about loosening the gas line, and his pen moved quickly across the pad when Cameron mentioned splitting the money. When the video ended, he set down the iPad. Ms. Cross, this is attempted murder. You did the right thing. Let me ask you this, man. Cameron, do you know his full name? Cameron West. That's what Juliet called him. Do you know where he lives? No, he mentioned San Antonio. He said he'd go back there to visit his wife after I'm dead. James wrote that down. So he's married? Yes, a wife named Linda West. Good. That's a starting point. Physical description: about 32, maybe 6 feet short, beard, dark brown eyes, black hoodie and jeans. My neighbor said he drove a silver Honda Accord Texas plates, GTX-4729. James underlined the plate number twice. That's solid. License plates are one of the best leads. I can run that through the DMV today and get the registered owner's name and address within hours. He flipped to a new page. Here's what I'll do. Step 1, I'll run the plate GTX-4729 through the Texas DMV database. That gives me the registered owner, the address, any liens or violations. If Cameron West is the owner, I'll have his legal address. Step 2, full background check on Cameron West criminal history, credit report, employment, records, marriage and divorce records, property ownership, aliases. If he has a record, I'll know what, when, and where. If he's in debt, I'll know how much. Step 3, surveillance if necessary. I'll follow him, photograph him, document his movements, see if he meets with your sister. That's optional. Step 4, I'll compile everything into a detailed report, 10 to 15 pages with photos, if I get them, and send it to you and Samuel so he can share it with Detective Garrett at APD. I nodded, writing notes. How long? 3 to 5 business days for the full report. Preliminary information within 48 hours, name, address, criminal record if there is one. And the cost. James leaned back. My retainer is $3,500. That covers the DMV search background check credit report, up to 20 hours of surveillance if needed, and the final report. If I go over 20 hours, we'll discuss additional fees, but I don't expect that. Does that work? I didn't hesitate. Yes, I can pay now. I opened my phone and sent him $3,500 via Zelle. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and nodded. Got it, thank you. I'll get started immediately. The plate is a strong lead. I should have the registered owner by end of day. I'll call you within 48 hours with preliminary findings. Thank you, I said quietly. He stood and shook my hand again. One more thing. Samuel told me you're not staying at your house. That's smart. Stay somewhere safe. Keep your phone on. If I find anything urgent, I'll call right away. I will. I picked up my bag and turned toward the door, then stopped. Mr. Novak, do you think we can stop them? He met my eyes, calm and serious. Ms. Cross, I've been doing this for 8 years. Before that, I was a detective with Dallas PD for 15 years. I've seen a lot of bad people try a lot of bad things. The ones who get caught are the ones who underestimate the people they're trying to hurt. Your sister and Cameron think you're helpless. They think you don't know, but you do. And now you have a lawyer, a private investigator, and a police detective on your side. So yes, I think we can stop them. I felt tears sting my eyes. Thank you. You're welcome. Now go somewhere safe. I'll be in touch soon. I left his office at 3:45 p.m. and stepped back into the hot Texas afternoon. I walked to my car and sat in the driver's seat, staring at the dashboard. I just spent $8,500 in one day, $5,000. To Samuel, $3,500 to James. My savings were lighter, but I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks, hope. I had a lawyer. I had a private investigator. I had a plan. But I also had 8 days left. 8 days until Thursday next week, when Cameron would come to my house at 3 a.m. and try to kill me with carbon monoxide. 8 days to gather evidence, coordinate with the police, and set a trap. I started the car and pulled out of the parking lot. I didn't know where I was going, maybe a hotel, maybe a friend's place, but I couldn't go home. Not tonight. Not until this was over. Now all I could do was wait for the report, wait for Thursday next week, the day they would try to kill me for the second time. Tuesday morning, 10:30 a.m. I was lying in bed at the Fairfield Inn, downtown Austin, when my phone rang. I'd been staying here for 6 days ever since I left Samuel's office. I hadn't been home. Every morning I'd wake up, drive to Blackwood for work, then come back to this sterile room. Juliet had texted 3 times asking when I'd be back. I told her I was house-sitting for a friend. I picked up my phone. James Novak. Mobile. Mr. Novak. Miss Cross, good morning. I have the full report. We need to meet. There's urgent information. My stomach dropped. What did you find? I'd rather go over it in person. Can you meet me at 11:30 Mozart's Coffee Roasters on Lady Bird Lake? Yes, I'll be there. He hung up. I sat up, heart pounding. His voice had been calm, but there was an edge to it. I got dressed quickly and drove across town. Mozart sits on the western edge of Lady Bird Lake with outdoor tables overlooking the water. I spotted James at a corner table wearing a gray button-down, a thick leather folder in front of him. I sat down across from him. "What did you find?" He took off his sunglasses and met my eyes. "Ms. Cross, this report is 48 pages. I'm going to summarize the most important points. But I need you to brace yourself. Cameron West is not who your sister thinks he is." He opened the folder and pulled out the stapled report, flipping to a page with a mugshot paper clipped to the corner. The face was the same man from the video, Cameron, but younger, maybe 26, clean-shaven, staring blankly at the camera with a booking number across his chest. His full name is Cameron Daniel West, 32 years old, born 1993, Social Security number verified. Current address 4821 Stastny Lane, San Antonio. The license plate GTX 4729 is registered to a silver 2019 Honda Accord under his name. That's confirmed. I nodded, writing notes. Now here's where it gets bad. Cameron has 2 prior felony convictions. The first was in 2019 in Dallas County for fraud. He was dating a woman named Emily Rodriguez. Over 8 months, he convinced her to give him $42,000 to invest in a restaurant business. He never opened a restaurant. He spent the money on gambling and a used car. Emily reported him. He was arrested, tried, sentenced to 18 months. He served 14 and was released in August 2020 for good behavior. The second conviction was in 2021 here in Austin for identity theft. He was dating Rachel Thompson. Over 6 months, he collected her personal information, social security number, date of birth, and used it to open 4 credit cards in her name. He spent $18,500 before Rachel noticed the charges and called the police. He was arrested again, convicted, sentenced to 14 months, released in March 2023. That's 2 years ago. I stared at him. He's been to prison twice. Yes, fraud and identity theft. 32 months total behind bars. And here's the thing, those are just the convictions. I found a third victim who never pressed charges, Sarah Nguyen in Houston. She met Cameron late 2023, right after he got out the second time. He borrowed $9,800 to fix his car, then disappeared. She didn't report it because she was scared. Cameron West is a career criminal. He targets women, gains their trust, takes their money, vanishes. Your sister is his 4th known victim. Except this time, instead of just stealing money, he's planning murder. I felt tears sting my eyes. What about his wife? James flipped to another page. Linda Marie West, maiden name Carter. Married 2018 in Bezar County. Still legally married, no divorce filing on record. Linda lives at the same address, 4821 Stastny Lane. I called her yesterday anonymously. She confirmed she's still married to Cameron, but they've been separated 2 years. He tells her he's working out of town, doesn't send money. They have a 5-year-old daughter named Mia. He has a daughter. Yes, and he's not supporting her. Linda said she hasn't seen him in months. I put my head in my hands. So he's married, he has a kid, and he's lying to my sister about everything. Correct. And his financial situation is dire. He owes $127,000, $42,800 in credit cards, $38,200 in personal loans, $31,500 in court restitution from his 2 convictions, $14,800 to the IRS in back taxes. No legitimate employment. No W-2 forms for 2023 or 2024. He's surviving by scamming women. Your house is worth $625 minus the mortgage of $312 net $313,000. If you die, Juliet convinces your father to sign over inheritance, sells the house, splits the proceeds with Cameron, $156,500 each. For Cameron, that pays off most debts and lets him disappear again. James pushed the folder across the table. This is the full report, 48 pages. Everything I just told you, plus criminal records, credit reports, surveillance photos from last week in San Antonio, interviews with Linda and Rachel, timeline of his movements. I sent a scanned copy to Samuel Peterson and Detective Emily Garrett this morning. The police are preparing an arrest warrant. They'll be ready Thursday night. Thursday, 2 days. Yes. Thursday at 3 a.m. Detective Garrett will have a team in position. The moment Cameron enters your house and touches that gas line, they'll arrest him. What if he knows I'm investigating? What if he runs? He might. But the video and this report are strong evidence. The police are monitoring his movements. If he leaves Austin, they'll pick him up. I took the folder with shaking hands. Thank you, James. Be safe, Ms. Cross. Don't go back to that house until this is over. I won't. I left the coffee shop at 11:55 a.m. and sat in my car, the folder open on my lap. I flipped through the pages, hands trembling. Mug shots of Cameron Young and blank-eyed holding a booking number. Court documents from Dallas and Austin. A credit report showing 6 maxed-out cards. Surveillance photos James had taken last week. Cameron standing outside a rundown apartment getting into the silver Honda meeting, a woman at a bar. Photos of 4821 Stastny Lane. A transcript of James's phone interview with Linda West. A handwritten statement from Rachel Thompson. And at the end, a summary page with a single line in bold: Cameron Daniel West is a convicted felon career fraudster and potential threat to client's life, with immediate law enforcement intervention recommended. I closed the folder and set it on the passenger seat. Cameron wasn't just a con man. He was a career criminal, a predator who'd spent years perfecting his lies, targeting vulnerable women, draining them dry, moving on to the next victim. And in 2 days, Thursday at 3 a.m., he would come to my house and try to kill me. But this time, I'd be ready. Wednesday afternoon, I installed a smart bulb of Philips Hue in my bedroom lamp upstairs. Using the app on my phone, I set a schedule: lights on at 9 p.m., lights off at 10 p.m., to make it look like I was home moving around, then going to bed. That evening at 9, Samuel Peterson picked me up from the front of my house in his black Lexus. Juliet had already left at 8, telling me she was staying at the Ella Hotel with a friend, her alibi. I left my Honda Accord parked in its usual spot, the back door unlocked, because Juliet had left it open, and walked out with a small overnight bag. As Samuel drove me away, I opened the app and watched the bedroom light turn on automatically at 9 p.m. At 10, it would turn off on its own. Cameron, watching from a distance or getting updates from Juliet, would think I was home going to bed. But I was sitting in room 412 at the La Quinta Inn downtown, checked in under Samuel's name, watching the camera feeds on my laptop, waiting for 3 a.m. By 2 a.m. Thursday morning, Detective Emily Garrett and her team officers Rodriguez, Davis, and Thompson were in position parked 50 meters from my house in 2 unmarked vehicles, a gray sedan and a black SUV. I sat on the hotel bed laptop open, cycling through 6 camera feeds: bedroom, hallway, kitchen, back door, living room, utility room, entrance. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. I kept thinking, what if he doesn't come? What if he knows? But then, at 3:02 a.m., the back door camera lit up with motion. A silver Honda Accord license plate, GTX4729, parked at the end of the street. A figure in a black hoodie, face covered by a mask, gloves on, carrying a small duffel bag, walked up to my back door. Cameron. He pushed the door open, it wasn't locked, and stepped inside. I texted Garrett immediately, he's in. She replied, copy, stand by. I watched the kitchen camera. Cameron moved quickly, silently through the kitchen and straight into the utility room where the water heater and gas furnace were housed. There was no camera inside the utility room, but the kitchen microphone picked up sounds: metal, clanking, the scrape of a wrench. I heard his voice low and muttered, 4 bolts, slow leak, 3 to 4 hours, 800 parts per million CO should do it. My stomach turned. At 3:16 a.m., he came out of the utility room and walked into the living room. The camera there caught his face clearly when he pulled down his mask for 5 seconds to wipe sweat from his forehead. He reached up to the wall-mounted Kide carbon monoxide detector, popped open the cover, pulled out the battery, and stuffed it into his pocket. I texted Garrett again. He loosened the gas line and removed the CO detector battery. He's about to leave. She replied, copy. We'll move when he exits. But Cameron didn't leave. At 3:18 a.m., he walked back into the kitchen, opened my refrigerator, pulled out a bottle of Dasani water, and sat down at the kitchen table. I stared at the screen, heart hammering. What is he doing? He sat there for 3 minutes, 3:18 to 3:21 a.m., drinking the water, looking around the room. Then he muttered, almost to himself, "Nice house. In a few hours it'll be Juliet's." He thought I was upstairs, asleep. He thought I'd be dead by morning. At 3:22 a.m., he stood, tossed the empty bottle in the trash, and walked toward the back door. I held my breath. The moment he stepped outside, I saw the gray sedan's headlights flare on. Garrett's voice boomed through a megaphone. "Austin police, hands up! Do not move!" Cameron froze, then lunged toward his car. He fumbled with his keys, tried to start the engine, but the black SUV pulled up in front of him, blocking his escape. Officers Rodriguez and Williams yanked open his door, dragged him out, threw him face down on the pavement, and cuffed his hands behind his back. Garrett read him his Miranda rights, her voice calm and steady. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." I sat back on the hotel bed, tears streaming down my face. He was caught. But the house, my house, was still filling with gas. At 3:30 a.m., Garrett called the Texas Gas Service emergency hotline. By 4:50 a.m., a technician named Kevin O'Brien arrived. He was 51, wearing a Texas Gas Service uniform, carrying a gas detector. He went into the utility room and came out 10 minutes later, shaking his head. 4 bolts on the gas line were loosened, he told Garrett. Current CO level is 120 parts per million, not immediately fatal, but in another 2 to 3 hours, it would have hit 800 or more. That's lethal. This wasn't wear and tear. This was sabotage. He tightened the bolts, checked the entire system, and wrote up a formal report. At 5:30 a.m., Garrett drove to the Ella Hotel downtown and arrested Juliet in room 208, registered under her friend Angela's name for the alibi. Juliet screamed, "I didn't do anything. I was just sleeping here," Garrett said calmly. "We have video of you and Cameron West plotting to kill your sister. Cameron was arrested at 3:22 a.m., attempting to execute that plan." Juliet's face went white. At 6 a.m., Garrett called me. "Your house is safe. The gas system has been repaired. Juliet and Cameron are in custody. No bail." I was cleared to go home. I walked into my house at 7 a.m. Everything looked the same. The furniture, the walls, the kitchen table where Cameron had sat drinking my water 3 hours ago, but it didn't feel like home anymore. I stood in the living room staring at the empty space where the CO detector hung on the wall and thought, I can't live here. Not anymore. At 9 a.m., Detective Garrett sat across from Juliet in an interrogation room at Travis County Jail. She set an iPad on the table and played the 17-minute video Juliet and Cameron at my kitchen table, plotting my death. Juliet watched her hands, shaking her face pale. When it ended, she whispered, "Isabel. She's alive." Garrett nodded. "Yes, she wasn't home last night. She stayed at a hotel because she knew your plan." Juliet's voice cracked. "How did she know we talked in the house no one could hear?" Garrett said, "Cameras. She installed them after Cameron sabotaged the staircase. Your neighbor saw him, reported it. Isabel protected herself." Juliet collapsed, sobbing. "I didn't think he'd actually do it. Cameron said Isabel took my opportunities. He said if she died, I'd have the house money, happiness." Garrett's voice was ice. "You agreed to the plan. You created an alibi. You left the back door unlocked. You're an accomplice. Conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder. Maximum sentence, 20 years on each charge." Juliet cried, "I'm sorry. I didn't know." At 10 a.m., I sat in Samuel Peterson's office. He asked, "If Juliet asks why you weren't home that night, what will you say?" I'd already thought about it. "I'll say I felt unsafe after my neighbor reported a stranger entering my house. I stayed at a hotel for a few nights until the stair repair was done. It's logical. It doesn't reveal I knew their plan." Samuel nodded. "Good. But now that they're in custody and the video is evidence, you don't need to explain anything. They'll be convicted." I left his office and sat in my car. Cameron and Juliet were in custody, but I still had to face my father, the man who'd forced me to let Juliet into my house. And now he would have to face the truth his daughter was a murderer. Friday morning, 9 a.m. I sat at my kitchen table with a mug of black coffee, staring at the empty living room. The house was silent. Cameron and Juliet were in custody. The gas line had been repaired. The police had cleared the scene. But I didn't feel safe. Every corner of this house held a nightmare. The third step on the staircase where Cameron had loosened the screws, the utility room where he'd sabotaged the gas line, the kitchen table where he'd sat drinking my water, muttering about how this house would soon be Juliet's. I couldn't live here anymore. At 9:15 a.m., I called Stephanie Lawson, the realtor Samuel had recommended. Ms. Lawson, my name is Isabel Cross. Samuel Peterson gave me your number. I need to sell my house quickly. Can you come today? Her voice was warm and professional. Of course, I can be there at 10:30. What's the address? I gave it to her and hung up. At 10:30 a.m., Stephanie knocked on my front door. She was 42 with short blonde hair, wearing a black blazer and carrying an iPad and a leather folder. She shook my hand firmly. Ms. Cross, nice to meet you. Let's take a look. We walked through the house together. She took photos on her iPad, made notes, asked questions. Victorian townhouse, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,200 square feet. Original oak hardwood floors, granite countertops in the kitchen. Rose garden in the back, 1-car garage. New roof in 2023, new HVAC in 2022. This is a beautiful property. She paused in the living room and looked at me. Current market value is about $625,000. If we list it normally, it could sell in 30 to 45 days. But you said you need to sell quickly. I nodded. I need to leave Austin for a new job in Denver. I want to sell within 7 to 10 days if possible. Stephanie didn't hesitate. Then you'll need to sell below market to attract cash investors. I have a list of 12 investors who buy properties in Hyde Park. They close in 7 to 14 days, all cash, no inspection, no financing contingencies. The trade-off is you'll get less than market value, probably $560,000 to $590,000, depending on the investor. Does that work for you? I took a breath. Yes, I need to leave as soon as possible. She smiled. Then let's do it. I'll send the listing to my investor list this afternoon. At 2 p.m., Stephanie emailed the property details to 12 cash investors. By 3:45 p.m., she called me. Ms. Cross, I have 3 offers. First, Granite Horizon Holdings, LLC. $590,000, close in 48 hours on Sunday. All cash, no inspection. Second, Lone Oak Investments, $575,000, close in 7 days. Third, Redstone Capital, $560,000, close in 10 days. Granite Horizon is the highest and fastest. They're reputable. They've bought 48 properties in Austin this year. I recommend accepting their offer. I didn't hesitate. Yes, let's do it. The closing process moved fast. Friday afternoon, I signed the purchase agreement. Saturday, Stewart Title Company ran a title search and confirmed I was the sole owner. No liens except the mortgage. Sunday morning at 10 a.m., I sat in a conference room at Stewart Title's downtown office signing the deed, the bill of sale, the closing statement. The escrow officer, a woman in her 50s named Linda, walked me through the numbers. Sale price is $590,000. Your mortgage payoff is $312,000. Closing costs, title insurance, escrow fees, transfer taxes, and the 3% commission to your realtor total $19,700. Your net proceeds are $258,300. We'll wire that to your account within 2 hours. I stared at the number. $258,300. It was less than I'd hoped, but it was enough to start over. Before I signed, I asked Stephanie, can Juliet stop me from selling? She only lived here for 2 months. Stephanie shook her head. No, you're the sole owner. Your name is on the deed. Juliet has no ownership interest, no lease agreement. She was just a guest. You can sell whenever you want. I called Samuel on the way home. He confirmed it. After the sale closes, the new owner has the legal right to evict any occupants immediately. If Juliet makes bail, which is unlikely given the charges, she has no right to return to that house. It's no longer yours, and it was never hers. Saturday and Sunday, I packed. I filled boxes with clothes, books, my laptop framed photos of my college graduation, and my first day at Blackwood. I packed my important documents, my old house deed, my passport, my birth certificate, bank statements. I threw away Juliet's things, her wine glasses, her makeup, the Nordstrom bag still stuffed in the closet. I didn't want any trace of her left. I rented a 6 by 12-foot U-Haul trailer for $150 a day and loaded it with the boxes, my desk chair, a few lamps. Everything else, the furniture, the kitchen table, the bed I left behind, the new owners could keep it or throw it away. I didn't care. I booked a one-way flight from Austin to Denver for Tuesday, the day after closing. Sunday afternoon, I called Harold, the HR manager at Summit Crest Ventures in Denver. This is Isabel Cross. I wanted to confirm my start date. I can begin Monday, June 3rd. I'll arrive in Denver this weekend. His voice was cheerful. Excellent, Ms. Cross. We're very excited to have you on the team. I'll send over your onboarding paperwork this week. I hung up and sat on the edge of the bed I'd slept in for 4 years, the bed where I'd lain awake the night I discovered Juliet and Cameron's plan. In 48 hours, I'd no longer own this house. In 1 week, I'd leave Austin, the city where I'd lived for 29 years, and start over in a place where no one knew my name, where no one knew what my sister had tried to do to me. But before I left, I had one last thing to do. I had to face my father. Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m., I stood in front of Travis County Jail staring up at the gray concrete building with narrow windows and razor wire along the roof. Detective Garrett had called me that morning. Your father, Warren Cross, wants to see you. He wants to understand what happened. I'd hesitated. Part of me wanted to refuse to let him sit in that cell and wonder. But another part, the part that needed closure, agreed. I needed him to know the truth. I walked through security, emptied my pockets, passed through the metal detector, and followed a guard down a long hallway with fluorescent lights and scuffed linoleum floors. He led me into a small visiting room divided by a thick glass partition. On my side was a hard plastic chair and a black phone mounted on the wall. On the other side, the same setup. I sat down and waited. A few minutes later, a door opened on the other side of the glass and my father walked in. Warren Cross, 61 years old. CEO and founder of Blackwood Commercial Properties, a man who'd built a $12 million empire on discipline and control. But the man who sat down across from me didn't look like a CEO. He wore an orange jumpsuit, the kind they give to inmates awaiting processing. His hair was gray and uncombed. His face was pale thinner than I'd ever seen it. His eyes were red like he'd been crying. He picked up the phone on his side. I picked up mine. Isabel, he said, his voice hoarse. I don't understand. Juliet, they arrested her for conspiracy to murder you. This can't be true. I looked at him through the glass and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just cold, empty clarity. It is true. Juliet and her boyfriend, Cameron West, plotted to kill me twice. First, they sabotaged the staircase in my house. Second, they tried to poison me with carbon monoxide gas. His face crumpled. No, that's not possible. Juliet would never... I have proof. I pulled my iPad from my bag and held it up to the glass. The guard standing by the wall nodded he'd already cleared it. I pressed play on the first video. The 17-minute recording of Juliet and Cameron sitting at my kitchen table discussing the failed staircase plan, plotting the gas leak, dividing the money, $156,500 each. Warren leaned forward, squinting at the screen through the glass. I could see his hands shaking. When the video ended, I played the second one, 8 minutes of security footage from Thursday at 3 a.m. Cameron entering my house through the unlocked back door, walking into the utility room, loosening the bolts on the gas line, removing the battery from the carbon monoxide detector, sitting at my kitchen table, drinking a bottle of water, muttering, "Nice house. In a few hours, it'll be Juliet's." When the second video ended, I set the iPad down. Warren stared at the glass, his face drained of color. Then his shoulders began to shake. He pressed both palms against the partition, his breath fogging the glass. No, that's not possible. Juliet wouldn't... She was just stressed from the divorce. She's not a killer. She's my daughter. His voice cracked. Tears spilled down his cheeks. She is a killer. I said, my voice steady and cold. She stole $11,500 of my jewelry while I slept. She spent $7,800 on my credit card without asking. She photographed my house, deed my mortgage papers, my passport, planning this for weeks. She conspired with a convicted felon to murder me in my sleep and steal my house worth $625,000. She wanted me dead, Dad, so she could take everything I'd worked for. He collapsed forward, his forehead pressed against the glass, his whole body shaking with sobs. His orange jumpsuit looked too big on him. The CEO, who'd built a $12 million empire, now looked like a broken old man. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "I'm so sorry, Isabel. I forced you to let her move in. I threatened your job. I told you to stop complaining. I didn't listen. I didn't protect you. I almost lost you because I was blind. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I felt nothing. No pity, no forgiveness, just emptiness. "You didn't listen to me," I said. "I told you she was stealing. I told you she was spending my money. You told me to stop being dramatic. You threatened to fire me if I didn't let her stay. You said I was causing trouble for the family, and because of that, I almost died." He looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. "Please, and stay. I'll fix this. I'll remove Juliet from my will. I'll give you the entire company. Blackwood is worth $12 million. You can have it all. Just stay." I shook my head. "No. Isabel, please." I sold my house. I quit Blackwood on Friday. I'm moving to Denver to become Vice President of Brand and Client Strategy at Summit Crest Ventures. I'm never coming back to Austin. His face went white. You sold the house. You quit. No." I stood up. "I'm free now, Dad. You don't control me anymore, and I don't need you anymore." I reached into my bag and pulled out a white envelope. I held it up to the glass. The guard stepped forward, took it from me, and passed it through the slot to my father. "This is the address of my attorney, Samuel Peterson. If you need to contact me, go through him. I don't want to see you again." I hung up, the phone turned, and walked out of the room. Behind me, I heard him shouting my name, his voice muffled by the glass. "Isabel, Isabel, please." But I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I walked down the hallway through security and out into the blazing Texas sun. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, blinking in the light, feeling the heat on my skin. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt truly free. I'd cut the last tie to my family. I'd walked away from the man who'd controlled my life, the sister who'd tried to kill me, the city where I'd spent 29 years trying to be good enough. Now I could start over. Tuesday morning, June 3rd, 6 a.m. I stood in front of 4105 Avenue G for the last time. The U-Haul trailer, 6 by 12 feet, packed with 12 boxes, a desk chair, 3 lamps, and 1 suitcase was hitched to my Honda Accord. I looked at the Victorian townhouse where I'd lived for 4 years, where Juliet had stolen my jewelry, where Cameron had loosened the staircase screws, where I'd almost died from carbon monoxide. It wasn't mine anymore. I'd sold it Sunday to Granite Horizon for $590,000. I climbed into the driver's seat, pulled up Google Maps, Denver, Colorado, 900 miles, 14 hours. I started the engine at 6:15 a.m. and drove away. The first 6 hours took me north on I-35 through Round Rock Temple in Waco. At 8 a.m., I stopped at a Buc-ee's in Waco. The massive Texas gas station with 100 pumps filled the tank, bought black coffee and a breakfast taco. Then I headed west on the 20 toward Abilene and Midland. I turned on a podcast, The Daily, from the New York Times, and listened as I drove through flat West Texas sagebrush mesas, endless blue sky. I thought about the past 2 months. March, when Juliet moved in, the missing jewelry, the credit card charges, the loose step, the cameras, the 17-minute video. Thursday at 3 a.m., Cameron loosening the gas line, the arrests, the jail visit with my father, the sale of my house. 2 months ago, I'd had a house, a job, a father, a sister. Now I had none of those things, but I was alive and I was free. By noon, I was driving through Midland and Odessa, the oil towns in the West Texas desert. At 1:30 p.m., I pulled into a rest stop, ate a sandwich, drank water, stretched my legs. Then I switched from podcasts to music, a Spotify playlist I'd made called New Beginnings. I sang along as the landscape changed from desert to low hills, from sagebrush to pinyon pines. I thought about 7 years at Blackwood under my father's control. He decided my promotions, my projects, my salary. He'd threatened to fire me if I didn't let Juliet move in. But now I'd walked away, and he couldn't stop me. At 3 p.m., I crossed into New Mexico, Red Mesa's distant mountains, patches of juniper. At 4:30 p.m., I stopped at a gas station in Tucumcari, filled the tank, bought a Gatorade. At 4:45 p.m., my phone rang. Stephanie Lawson. Ms. Cross, I wanted to update you. Granite Horizon changed the locks on the house yesterday. The property is secure. Your sister Juliet was released on bail Friday, but she has no legal right to enter. The new owners filed a trespassing notice with Austin PD. If she tries to go back, she'll be arrested. Relief washed over me. Thank you, Stephanie. That's all I needed to know. She smiled in her voice. Good luck in Denver. You deserve a fresh start. By 6 p.m., I was on I-25 North, heading through northern New Mexico. The sun was setting behind me, casting long shadows. The Sangre de Cristo Mountains rose dark against the orange sky. At 7 p.m., I stopped near Santa Fe, ate a protein bar and an apple, then drove into the night. The sky turned purple, then black. My headlights cut through the darkness. I thought about Denver. About Summit Crest Ventures, my new job as Vice President of Brand and Client Strategy, salary, $232,000 plus a $32,000 signing bonus. About the apartment I'd rented in Lodo, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 750 square feet, $2,100 a month. Tomorrow, Wednesday, June 4th, would be my first day. At 8:30 p.m., I crossed from New Mexico into Colorado. The Rocky Mountains rose ahead, massive against the night sky. At 8:45 p.m., I passed through Colorado Springs. At 9 p.m., I merged onto I-25 into Denver. The skyline appeared, tall buildings, lights, mountains behind them. At 9:15 p.m., I pulled into the parking garage at 1750 Wewata Street in Lodo and turned off the engine. I'd driven 900 miles, 14 hours. I was exhausted, but I was here. I grabbed my phone and walked to the lobby where the property manager, Laura, was waiting with my keys. Miss Cross, welcome to Denver. You're in Unit 412, 4th floor. We took the elevator up. She unlocked the door and handed me the keys. If you need anything, my number's on the lease. Enjoy your new home. I thanked her, and she left. I stood in the doorway and looked at the apartment. Hardwood floors, stainless steel appliances, a large window overlooking the Denver skyline and mountains. Empty. No furniture. Just space. I went back down and unloaded the U-Haul. 12 boxes, 1 desk chair, 3 lamps, 1 suitcase. I carried them up and stacked them along the wall. By 10:30 p.m., I was done. I opened the first box, clothes, laptop documents, pulled out my sleeping bag, spread it on the bedroom floor, and lay down. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the city outside, cars, voices, the distant light rail horn. I thought about this morning. I'd been standing in front of a house in Austin that used to be mine. Now I was lying on the floor of an empty apartment in Denver, 900 miles away in a city where no one knew my name. No one knew what my sister had done. No one knew I'd almost died. Tomorrow I'd start a new job, a new life. For the first time in 29 years, I wasn't someone's daughter, someone's employee, someone's victim. I was just me, and I was free. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in 2 months, I slept without fear. Wednesday morning, June 4th, 8 a.m. I woke up on the sleeping bag on the hardwood floor of apartment 412, sunlight streaming through the window. I'd slept without nightmares for the first time in 2 months. I got up, showered, put on a black suit I'd ironed the week before, applied light makeup, pulled my hair into a professional bun. At 8:30 a.m., I stepped outside. Denver was cool and bright, 60 degrees, clear blue sky, the Rocky Mountains rising in the distance. I walked 15 minutes down Wewata Street to 1801 California Street, a glass tower in the heart of downtown Denver near the 16th Street Mall. Summit Crest Ventures, 18th floor. At 8:45 a.m., I checked in at the security desk, received my badge, Isabel Cross VP Brand and Client Strategy, and took the elevator to 18. The doors opened onto a modern office with an open-plan workspace, glass conference rooms and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city and mountains. A man in his late 30s, Asian American with a friendly smile, walked toward me. "Ms. Cross, I'm Harold HR Manager. Welcome to Summit Crest." He shook my hand warmly and led me on a tour engineering pod's sales bullpen marketing corner break room with an espresso machine, 85 employees total. We're growing fast. Real estate data analytics software. We help commercial investors make smarter decisions. You'll love it here. At 9:30 a.m., Harold brought me to the corner office. Marcus, CEO, stood by the window. He was 50 Chinese-American, calm and authoritative, wearing a navy suit. He turned and smiled. "Ms. Cross, I'm Marcus. Please sit." We sat at a small table by the window with a view of the skyline and mountains. "I built Summit Crest 12 years ago from a startup. We're now at $45 million in revenue with 85 employees. Your work at Blackwood, especially the Fisher campaign, impressed us. We need someone who can elevate our brand and strengthen client relationships. You have full autonomy here. Build your team, set your strategy. I trust you." I felt something I hadn't felt in 7 years: respect without control. "Thank you, Marcus. I'm excited to get started." At 10 a.m., Harold led me to a conference room where my team was waiting. 3 people stood and smiled. Alyssa Martinez, 32, Latina with bright eyes and creative energy, senior brand strategist, 4 years at Summit. Tom Kellerman, 40, white with graying hair, experienced and steady, director of client relations, 6 years at Summit. Nina Patel, 28, Indian American with sharp intelligence, digital marketing manager, 2 years at Summit. I introduced myself. "I'm Isabel Cross, your new VP of Brand and Client Strategy. I spent 7 years at Blackwood Commercial Properties in Austin, leading campaigns for high net worth clients. I'm excited to work with you to expand Summit Crest's brand and deepen client engagement. Let's schedule one-on-ones this week so I can learn about your projects." Alyssa grinned. "We've been waiting for this role. Excited to have leadership." From 10:30 a.m. to noon, Harold walked me through onboarding paperwork, W-4 I-9 benefits, including health insurance, 6% 401k matched 20 days, PTO per year. He handed me the employment contract, $232,000 annual salary, plus a $32,000 signing bonus paid in the first paycheck on June 15th, and 5,000 stock options vesting over 4 years. I signed everything, feeling the weight of it. This was my life now. At noon, the team took me to lunch at Snooze AM Eatery, a Denver brunch spot nearby. Over pancakes and coffee, Alyssa talked about current projects, a Q3 rebranding campaign, client retention strategy. Tom described our top clients, commercial real estate firms, investment groups. Nina explained our digital channels, LinkedIn SEO, email marketing. I listened, asked questions, felt myself relax. No one asked about my past. No one judged. I belonged here. From 1 to 5 p.m., I set up my new office, a corner space on the 18th floor with a desk, dual monitors, an ergonomic chair, a whiteboard, and a window view of the mountains. I unpacked my laptop, reviewed Q2 marketing reports, sent introductory emails to key clients. At 5:30 p.m., I walked back to my apartment, stopped at Whole Foods to buy groceries, pasta salad, a bottle of wine, cooked a simple dinner, and ate sitting on the floor since I didn't have a table yet. At 7 p.m., my laptop pinged with an email from Samuel Peterson. Subject: case update, Juliet Cross and Cameron West sentencing. I opened it. "Dear Ms. Cross, I wanted to inform you that Juliet Cross and Cameron West were sentenced today in Travis County Court, Austin, Texas. Juliet Cross, conspiracy to commit murder, plus theft jewelry, $11,500, plus credit card fraud, $7,800. Sentence 12 years, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, no parole eligibility until 8 years served. Cameron West, attempted murder, plus conspiracy to commit murder, plus identity theft, prior conviction, 2021, plus fraud, prior conviction, 2019. Sentenced 18 years TDCJ, no parole eligibility until 12 years served. Both are currently incarcerated at Travis County Jail awaiting transfer to state facilities. Additionally, your father, Warren Cross, sent a letter addressed to you attached PDF. He asked me to forward it. You are under no obligation to read or respond. Best regards, Samuel Peterson, Esquire. I stared at the screen. 12 years for Juliet, 18 for Cameron. I opened the attachment, a one-page handwritten letter scanned to PDF. Dear Isabel, I know you may never read this. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need to say I'm sorry. I was wrong to force you to let Juliet into your home. I was wrong to threaten your job. I was wrong to dismiss your concerns. I was blinded by loyalty to Juliet, and I failed to protect you. I nearly lost you because of my mistakes. Juliet has been sentenced to 12 years. I visited her in jail. She cried and said she didn't mean for it to go this far, that Cameron manipulated her. But I know the truth, she made her choices. And so did I. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to come back. I just want you to know I'm proud of you. You survived. You're free. And I hope wherever you are, you find peace. Your father, Warren Cross. I read it once. Then I closed the email without replying. I didn't cry. I didn't feel angry. I just felt nothing. I didn't need his apology. I didn't need his pride. I just needed my freedom, and I had it. At 8 p.m., I sat on the floor of my empty apartment, a glass of wine in my hand, looking out at the Denver skyline and the mountains beyond. 12 years for Juliet, 18 for Cameron. They'd be in prison while I built my life here. I'd won the case. But more than that, I'd won my freedom. I closed the laptop, finished my wine, and looked out at the city lights. For the first time in my life, I wasn't running from something. I was running towards something, and it felt like home. Mid-July, 6 weeks after I started at Summit Crest, my apartment had changed. The empty space was now filled with IKEA furniture, a queen bed with a gray comforter, a couch, a dining table with 4 chairs, lamps, curtains, plants on the windowsill. It finally felt like home. Work was going well. The Q3 rebranding campaign had launched successfully, and Marcus had praised my leadership in front of the team. Saturday morning, my phone buzzed. Alyssa, mobile. Isabel, want to hike Rocky Mountain National Park today? Sarah's coming too. We leave at 10. I didn't hesitate. I'm in. At 10 a.m., Alyssa picked me up in her Subaru Outback, the classic Colorado car. Sarah, 30, a product manager at Summit, sat in the back. She was Asian American, calm and thoughtful, with a warm smile. We drove 70 miles west on I-70 through the mountains to Estes Park, then into Rocky Mountain National Park. The landscape was breathtaking: pine forests, jagged peaks, alpine meadows. We hiked Bear Lake Trail, an easy loop around a crystal-clear lake at 9,500 feet elevation, surrounded by towering pines and snow-capped mountains. At the lake, we spread out a picnic sandwiches, trail mix, water, and talked. Alyssa was from L.A., moved to Denver 5 years ago for the mountains. Sarah was from San Francisco, moved 3 years ago for the same reason. They asked why I'd moved. I needed a fresh start. Austin felt complicated. Denver feels like freedom. Alyssa smiled. We're glad you're here. You're a great addition to the team and to our friend group. Sarah nodded. Definitely. Let's do this again. That evening, we had dinner at Linger, a rooftop restaurant in Denver's Rhino district with global street food and views of the skyline. I sat with Alyssa and Sarah laughing over tacos and cocktails and realized I'd found something I hadn't had in Austin: real friends who didn't know my past, didn't judge, just welcomed me. Over the next few weeks, I explored Denver on weekends. Red Rocks Amphitheater with its massive red rock formations, the Denver Art Museum with modern architecture and Western art, Union Station with its shops and restaurants, the 16th Street Mall. I bought art for my apartment, throw pillows, coffee table books. Apartment 412 was becoming home. Early August, a Sunday afternoon. I was reading at Huckleberry Roasters, a specialty coffee shop in Lodo, when a man at the next table knocked over his coffee, soaking his blueprints. I handed him napkins. He laughed. Thanks, I'm David Torres. Isabel Cross. We talked for 30 minutes. He He was 35, an architect at a firm downtown designing residential buildings. He'd moved to Denver 8 years ago from San Diego and loved the mountains. You new to Denver? Yeah, moved from Austin in June. I'm VP at Summit Crest Ventures. He smiled. Impressive. Hey, I know this is forward, but would you want to grab dinner sometime? I was surprised, but pleased. Sure, I'd like that. Mid-August Friday night. Our first date at Mercantile Dining and Provision, a farm-to-table restaurant in Larimer Square. David was gentlemanly funny, passionate about architecture. He asked about Austin. I was honest but vague. I worked in commercial real estate marketing for 7 years. Family stuff got complicated. I needed a change. He didn't press. Well, Denver's lucky to have you. After dinner, we walked through Union Station, and he said, I'd love to see you again. Me too. Late August Sunday. Our second date, a hike at Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs, an hour and a half south of Denver. Red rock formations jutted dramatically from the earth. David packed a picnic and hiking gear. We hiked for 3 hours, talking easily. He shared his divorce 3 years ago, no kids, amicable. I shared a bit more. I had a complicated relationship with my family. I'm working on building a life that's mine. He nodded. That takes courage. I respect that. At the end of the hike, he held my hand briefly. I felt safe for the first time in years. That evening back in apartment 412, I checked my email. One from Dorothy Jensen, my old neighbor from Austin 4107, Avenue G, subject Hello from Austin. Dear Isabel, I hope this finds you well. I got your email from the forwarding service. The new owners of your old house have done beautiful renovations, new paint, landscaping, the rose garden is thriving. I also wanted to say I'm so glad you're safe. I heard what happened with your sister and that man. I'm sorry you went through that, but I'm proud of you for getting out. I hope wherever you are now, you're happy. Take care, Dorothy Jensen. I smiled and replied, Dear Mrs. Jensen, thank you for reaching out. I'm glad the house looks beautiful. I'm doing well. I moved to Denver and started a new job. I'm happy here. Thank you for everything you did. Reporting that stranger probably saved my life. I'll always be grateful. Warm regards, Isabel Cross. I closed the laptop and sat on my couch with a glass of wine looking out at the Denver skyline and the mountains beyond. 2 months ago, I was running for my life. Now I had a job I loved, friends who cared about me, a city that felt like home, and maybe the beginning of something more with David. For the first time in 29 years, I was truly happy. I wasn't running anymore. I was home. November 2025. I sit in my Denver apartment watching the first snow of winter fall outside my window. The flakes drift slowly past the glass, settling on the rooftops of Lodo and the distant Rockies. I hold a mug of chamomile tea, feeling its warmth. 8 months ago, I was trapped in Austin living a life I didn't choose. Today, I'm free. I was 29 years old, living in a 3-bedroom Victorian townhouse at 4105 Avenue G in Austin. Working as director of brand strategy at Blackwood Commercial Properties, my father Warren Cross's $12 million company. I earned $118,000 a year, but had no control. My father decided everything where I worked, how I worked, who lived in my house. When my sister Juliet needed a place after her divorce, he told me she was moving in. I didn't say no. I never said no. Juliet arrived in March. Within weeks, she stole $11,500 worth of jewelry from my bedroom, gold rings, a pearl necklace, a cashmere coat, leather boots. She spent $7,800 on my credit card at Neiman Marcus, Sephora, and Tesla service. She photographed my house deed mortgage documents, passport, and bank statements. I installed hidden cameras but didn't call the police. I was too afraid of my father's anger, of losing evidence, of being blamed. In late April, I nearly died. Rushing down the stairs one morning, I skipped the 3rd step. That evening, I noticed it was loose-tilted 15 degrees with a 2-millimeter gap. Someone had removed the screws. If I had stepped on it, I would have broken my neck. I called a repairman thinking it was normal wear. I didn't suspect sabotage yet. 2 days later, neighbor Dorothy Jensen told me that at 2:45 a.m., she'd seen a tall man in a black hoodie enter my house carrying a toolbox. He left 25 minutes later in a silver Honda Accord plate, GTX 4729. Terrified, I ordered 3 hidden cameras, a wall clock camera for $129, a kitchen radio camera for $98, and a video doorbell for $115. I installed them the following Sunday. Those cameras saved my life. Tuesday night at 11:48 p.m., I woke to a motion alert. On my phone, I saw Juliet in my kitchen with a man 32 years old, short beard, black hoodie. They were discussing how to murder me. The 17-minute video captured everything. They talked about the failed staircase sabotage and planned a carbon monoxide gas leak for Thursday at 3 a.m. They calculated the inheritance my house worth $625,000, minus a $312,000 mortgage, leaving $313,000. They would split it $156,500 each. I backed up the video 4 times and called lawyer Samuel Peterson at 12:15 a.m. The next morning, he advised me to hire private investigator James Novak for $3,500. Within 5 days, James delivered a 48-page report. The man was Cameron Daniel West, a career criminal with 2 felony convictions: fraud in 2019 involving $42,000 and 18 months prison. Identity theft in 2021 involving $18,500 and 14 months prison. He owed $127,340 in debt. He had scammed 3 women before Juliet, and he planned to kill me. We set a trap. Thursday night, I stayed at a hotel. I installed a smart bulb that turned off at 10 p.m. to fake my presence. Detective Emily Garrett and 4 officers waited in unmarked cars. At 3:02 a.m., Cameron entered, loosened 4 gas line bolts, and removed the carbon monoxide detector battery. At 3:22 a.m., police arrested him. At 5:30 a.m., they arrested Juliet at the Ella Hotel. 2 days later, I visited my father at Travis County Jail. He'd been detained 48 hours. I showed him both videos. He broke down and apologized, offering to remove Juliet from his will and give me his company. I refused. I told him I had sold my house for $590,000, quit Blackwood, and accepted a vice president position at Summit Crest Ventures in Denver, $232,000 salary, plus $32,000 signing bonus. I told him I would never return. In June, I moved to Denver and started my new job. Juliet was sentenced to 12 years. Cameron received 18. My father sent an apology. I didn't reply. In July and August, I made friends Sarah and Alyssa Martinez. I hiked Rocky Mountain National Park, visited Red Rocks, explored the Denver Art Museum. In early August, I met David Torres, a 35-year-old architect. We've been on several dates. He's kind, patient, respectful. He doesn't try to control me. In October, CEO Marcus promoted me to Senior Vice President of Brand Strategy effective January 2026, salary $285,000. In November, David proposed at Garden of the Gods. I haven't answered yet. I need time to trust. This month, I bought a 2-bedroom condo in Lodo for $320,000 paid in cash. No mortgage, no debt. It's completely mine. The lesson is simple: never let anyone control your life, not even family. I spent 7 years working for my father, sacrificing everything for my sister. I said yes when I meant no. I stayed silent when I should have spoken. I almost died because I was too afraid to set boundaries. But I'm not afraid anymore. I escaped Austin. I will never go back. I look at the snow falling and smile. For the first time in 29 years, I am truly happy. I am free. And to you listening to this story, remember, this family betrayal cuts deeper than any wound. I prayed to God 3 times during those dark months when I found the stolen jewelry, when I discovered the murder plot, and when I finally drove away from Austin. Each time I asked him why family betrayal hurt so much, and each time he showed me the pain was teaching me to value my own life. Don't be like me. Don't wait until someone tries to kill you before setting boundaries. Don't let family revenge or family betrayal trap you in silence because you fear judgment. Don't sacrifice your peace, safety, or future for people who see you as a tool. God gave you one life. Don't let toxic families steal it. Looking back, family revenge was never the answer. I didn't need to hurt them back. I just needed to walk away. The best revenge is freedom. The best response to family betrayal is building a life where they can't reach you. My advice: trust your instincts. Document everything. Get legal help early. Never feel guilty for protecting yourself, even from family. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment sharing your experience with family betrayal or family revenge. Your story might help someone else. Please subscribe and share this video with anyone who needs to hear it. Thank you for staying until the end. I know this was heavy. Note stories on this channel include fictionalized elements for educational purposes. Feel free to explore other content if you prefer. God bless you. Stay safe. Remember, you deserve to be free.